Everybody here is super friendly.
Except for you.
I actually, I'm going to ignore that. But I was walking down the sidewalk today, and this lady, I was waiting to see if she would say hello to me.
And did she?
Oh, she said good morning to me. And I think I was actually aggressive in my friendliness because I go, good morning to you, like that. And I don't even think she had the ing of good morning out of her mouth yet. And I was like, good morning to you.
Oh, you were all excited about that good morning, weren't you?
I was.
Oh my gosh.
I was highly caffeinated at that moment. But
okay.
Anyway, I hope she is having a good morning wherever she is.
I'm sure she is. And I'm sure she walked away and was like, wow.
Like, wow, he's intense.
He's ready to get up and go.
I know. So anyway, that's the state of affairs so far in Newport, Rhode Island. We are psyched to be here. We got a great show for you today. Let's do it.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey listeners, ever wonder what it would be like to blow up your comfort zone at the tender age of 50? Well, we did just that. When our last kid went off to college, we hit the road in search of a new hometown. Now we bounce from city to city and bring you along for the ride. This is the Skip Town All-Stars podcast.
What's up, All-Stars? Welcome back to another episode. We are totally delighted to be coming to you from the Gardner House in Newport, Rhode Island. This hotel is fantastic. It's almost brand new.
It is. And you're probably going to be hearing the staff saying housekeeping, because in typical fashion, we don't want to leave. Like when we find a good place, they have to kick us out. And so we have been dragging this out as long as we can.
Yep.
We've had such a wonderful time at this hotel that we've extended our stay.
2 days. 2
extra days. Was it 3?
2 days, a late checkout, and probably an extra 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. And at one point, the entire hotel had been bought out. And there was one room left, and we were willing to take that room instead of moving hotels. That's how much we love it here. So the beauty of the Gardner House for us is that it looks like it's been here forever because it blends so beautifully into the aesthetics. It's brand new. They just opened, but you would never know. It's right off Thames, like 200 feet. And Thames is one of the famous streets in Newport that has everything you could want.
Yep.
So the location of the Gardner House is just phenomenal. It's owned by, did you know that it's owned by 2 locals from Newport, like born and raised? One of them, I think, is a 3rd generation.
Wow.
Yeah. So the owners are locals and wanted to keep that old Newport charm, and they've done it so beautifully.
It's nice. Oh my gosh. And the aesthetics that you'll see as I'm showing footage right now for those of you watching on YouTube.
You can see our room. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, the suite is amazing. The balcony view is amazing. You can see the port, the harbor right there.
Yep.
And it's so close. As you said, it's right off Thames. So it's off in its own little section, but it's right, like it feeds right into the main artery of all the shops, restaurants, bars, all that stuff that you can find. Super walkable. We've walked everywhere. I don't think I've been in the car. I think you went driving once or twice. I don't think I've been in the car.
Oh no, you haven't.
All week.
Yeah, I only drove one time, didn't I? Maybe I drove twice. I think I did drive twice, but you don't have to. And also the beauty of the hotel is the artwork. Like there's just so much to brag about this hotel. It's because when you're here, there's so much to look at visually. When you walk in, there's original artwork everywhere.
Yep.
And their bar, the studio bar, is the Hang in Newport. So it opens at like 4 or 5, and we have been there, oh my gosh, like 3 times now. And community comes out. Plus we're in off season, so you're gonna find locals, and it is the Hang. Even on like a Wednesday night, it was a Hang. It was packed.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are in the off season. There was a night where you and I were walking back from a restaurant. We were literally the only people on the sidewalk. But then we got back here and the bar was jumping. So
I know. And it's
the drinks are great. The bartenders are great. The staff, the service is great.
I know.
Can't say enough about this place, honestly. Yulia, Lou, the entire team have bent over backwards for us. It's been such a fantastic stay. I don't want it to end.
I know. And we did like not an episode, but we actually talked about, if you caught it, it was in one of our episodes where we talked about, is it the location or the hotel that makes or breaks the experience? Because honestly, if you're traveling, you could be in a great location, a crappy hotel, or a great hotel in a crappy location. So we've had this dialogue. This is tough because Newport is a great location and the Gardner House is an amazing hotel. So you want to leave to go experience Newport, but your amenities here are so great.
Yeah. There was one day we just spent in the room the entire day.
Yeah. It was just, anyway. So can't say enough about it.
Cannot. And the weather has mostly cooperated with us. We did have one bad weather day. I think that's a day where we stayed inside. It was just rainy and blustery outside. Yeah. So you're going to hear us talk about the Gardner House throughout the episode. It's kind of impossible. It's in our DNA at this point. But before we get too far into Newport, Rhode Island, I wanted to mention that if you're watching us on YouTube and you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button, make a comment. It goes a long way toward our algorithm. And if you are listening to us on the Spotify or Apple Podcast or any other audio streaming app out there, please make sure to rate us on Spotify, review us on Apple Podcasts, or just leave a little comment for us somewhere, anywhere on the audio streaming app of your choice. It goes a long way toward the evolution of our show. Like how I worked that in there?
Yeah, you said long way, I think twice, but it's all good.
Oh, I'll work on it.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned the friendliness of the woman that you met. When we got here, we had no idea that how off-season it would be.
We did not. First, I just want to say, it was very early on in our show when somebody even mentioned Newport, Rhode Island. We'll get to that in a bit. But I didn't even know this was a place. So let's just start there. Okay,
so what brought us? Let's go back. Before we even talk about Rhode Island, let's talk about what even brought us here. Like, who brought us here?
Allison. Allison Andrade was an instant listener ever since we were on Leanne's show way back in our infancy, like episode 1. She's one of our original gangsters. And we got a message from her early on, right? And she said, in your travels, you should definitely check out Newport, Rhode Island, Providence, all that. And here we are.
Yeah, and it was, look, she started following us right away. So back in August of 2022, when she said, you have to come visit my hometown of Newport, Rhode Island, I was like, that's far. Like, I don't know when we're ever going to make it. So here we are a year and a half later, and we finally made it to Newport. That's how long it took us to get here. It's a far drive, you guys.
It is a bit of a schlep.
From LA.
Yeah.
So just originally, we came here to meet Allison. I mean, really, that's just the truth. And for her to show us around. We never had any intentions of, it was never in our consideration of places to live. Just because, we've all heard how expensive Rhode Island is. Yeah. And if you look at any travel magazine or, any setting of a movie that's in the East Coast and they show Rhode Island, I mean, the houses are huge. So for us, it wasn't even in our sphere. Like, it wasn't even on our list of places, but we decided, like, okay, we're out east, we're in Connecticut, we're going to visit Allie. A lot has changed.
Yeah.
A lot has changed.
It's a pretty fantastic town. Now, one of the things we should mention out of the gate is it's a seaport town. Mm-hmm. It's on an island, obviously. There are 2 other townships nearby. Middletown?
It's Middletown and Portsmouth.
Portsmouth,
yeah. So there's, okay, let me just explain also that Newport sits on an island. I'm going to totally hack the name of this island. Aquidneck. Thank you.
Yeah.
Isle of Peace is what it means. So Newport is at the actual tip of the island. And then there's Middletown and also
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth, I said that. Yeah. So we did not know that Newport was on an island. I mean, we knew nothing.
Of course we didn't know. Many people on the East Coast are like, yeah, of course it's on an island. Like, are you guys stupid? But yeah, we were uneducated, I guess is probably a better way to say it. We just didn't know what we didn't know coming here.
Right. And all we knew is that it was pretty and we were going to meet Allison. And then I have said this to so many people because, we were in Connecticut for a month, if you listened to our last episode, And we would mention to people in Connecticut, we're headed to Rhode Island. Or they would say to us, you should go visit Rhode Island. And we would reply with, oh, we are. And then I just would have to tell anyone who would listen, and I'm sure I was repeating myself, that once we got here, we were pinching ourselves because it's really out of a magazine. And it's living on the West Coast. If you only have one opportunity to go out east, you're going to either go to Boston or New York. Yep. It's a very expensive ticket. Hotels are expensive out east if you go to New York or Boston. And everyone is of the mindset that if I only get to go out east once, and you're lucky if you can even do it one time. I mean, who can afford to travel just at any point in their lives? It's expensive. So you're going to pick a city, just like if you can only go to Europe one time, you're going to go to Paris or London. That's just kind of how it is. So to be able to come to the coast of Connecticut or Newport, Rhode Island, that's a luxury. Like, that's something off the beaten path. And for us to be able to be here, it's just amazing. And even if you live in the Midwest, it's not easy to get to the East Coast. So really, like Rhode Island, people that come and visit are mostly East Coasters from what we're hearing and talking to locals. Like, it's not a destination for the average person.
Right. If you're coming from somewhere else in the country, there's a pecking order.
Yes.
On the cities you're actually going to be able to visit. Like you said, New York, the Boston, the Phillies, and, maybe somewhere in Maine are kind of,
right.
They get the most traction when it comes to, billboards and advertising, come here, come here. So,
but the people on the East Coast, they're privy to this hidden gem. And that's really what it is. So we're in an off season, but during season, which is April to December, it's packed because people on the East Coast know what a beautiful place this is to visit. And I cannot share it enough now with anybody that if you have an opportunity, it's a different type of place to visit, to vacation. It's cool. It's everything.
It's interesting because it's the off season and we're so enamored by it. And
I know everyone keeps saying you have to come back when the weather's
summer and there are festivals and all that going on.
Yeah. So Rhode Island, everyone knows it's very small, and it is. It only has 1 million people.
Okay.
Newport, I did a little digging. Newport, the city itself, has 24,000, like 23,850 people. So Newport's pretty big. Like we call it a seaside town, but it's big for
it's sizable, yeah.
23,000, yeah. It's a good amount. Rhode Island, if we're going to talk about like the size of it, it's 48 miles from east to west and 37 from north to south.
Okay.
You could drive it. What did they tell us? Like, we heard from locals, if we wanted to drive from one end to the other, it takes about 45 minutes up to an hour. But do you know how long it takes to walk it? Because I looked this up. I was like,
to walk 36 miles?
It would be
48.
East, 48 east to west. So if you had to guess.
I don't know, 2 days. How long was that? 24 miles per day kind of thing?
It's 24 hours, actually.
If you just kept walking the whole way?
Well, you have to take a bathroom break and get some water.
I guess so. That probably tracks.
24 hours. That's not bad, right?
I mean, I couldn't do it in that time. Could you?
I'm a speed walker. I think I could. I actually do think I could do it.
I would have blisters.
Oh, well, God, the shoes. Yeah, I did think about that. Like, what kind of shoes do you wear? And my guess is you're probably going to change shoes like every 8 hours, don't you think?
Well, yeah, because it rains every so often here. So
you're going to pick a sunny day. I would never
pick a sunny day.
I would never pick a rainy day. Why would you pick a rainy day?
You might get 2 or 3 seasons in one day. That's all I'm saying. That's kind of been our experience here.
I wouldn't pick that day. I'd pick a nice sunny day.
Okay. You're going to pick the sunny day when you could be in Newport hanging out at the jazz festival? Go for it. I'll see you when you get here.
I haven't really put a lot of thought into it because I thought I could do 8 hours, but I have to have a friend meet me so I could change shoes. So I'd only do 2 shoe breaks. I would do 2 shoe breaks. I would do 8 and 8, right? 8, 16, and then that would get me.
Okay, so you could do that on an average day of shopping. I'll give you that.
For sure. I've gone 8 hours without
I don't
drinking
think you
or
can go
eating.
The extra 8 hours.
No, look, I've gone 8 hours without eating or drinking. If there's a shoe store at every 8 hours, That's even better. If there's a shoe store where I could buy something every 8 hours.
And that's your incentive to get through.
I could totally do it. That is not a problem.
You could do a 12-hour to 16-hour shopping day, I bet. But
I've
you're not going to go that last 8 hours.
I've done
I challenge
those.
you. You need your sleep. You're one of those ladies that needs a little bit of sleep.
If there's something at the end of the tunnel, if there's a shiny object at the end of the tunnel,
okay.
I can do this.
All right.
I've been up 24 hours before. It's not a big deal. I'm a night owl. You know this.
Well, please take the GoPro with you. I want you to track your entire journey while I'm kicking it somewhere else.
Just like our travels, I will pick cool cities to stop and change my shoes. Something to look at.
That is actually a trait of yours, yeah. So anyway, all right, moving on. Where are we going next?
Oh, I know what I want to talk about. What was the one thing? Well, it's like, I'm going to ask this question. You're not going to give me the right answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
What was the one thing that you did not 100% know coming to Newport or Rhode Island in general? That is a thing here that you had no idea.
I actually do know the answer to this question, and that is surfing in the winter.
Oh.
I did not know that the surfers here on the East Coast get after it on the daily in ice cold temperatures. It was 28 degrees out there the one day.
Oh, you
and
surprised
we saw
me.
a dude on a surfboard. It was pretty crazy.
You answered exactly how I didn't think you were going to answer.
It has left an indelible mark on my brain because I swear to God, every time I see one of them, we drove past, was it Ocean Drive? We went down that way. Every time we've been down that way, I've been gritting my teeth looking at these guys and girls out there in the ice cold water. It's unbelievable to me. And there's a surf shop right up the street here.
Okay, the whole thing is so utterly ridiculous, I can't even tell you. So when Allie came to hang out with us, which she did. So we met up with our listener, Allie, and we spent...
Allie, what's up?
Hi. We spent an entire day with her. We tortured her. I think she just thought we were going to like hang out for a couple hours, and we kept her hostage in her own car. Mm-hmm. And so
we forced her to drive us to Providence at one point.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that?
Oh my gosh.
That was a clincher. I was like, we're never going to see her again.
I started dozing off because you know how I get after I eat a big meal?
Yeah.
And then I'm in a car and it's like a baby and it's
You
like
were open
lullaby.
mouth breathing.
I tried not to be, but I know I closed my eyes a couple times because I was so relaxed. But yes, Allie drove us to Providence, which is 45 minutes. And I cannot believe that she agreed to that and we let her. We didn't know what we didn't know. We were just like, oh, it's just Providence. Let's go.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to surfing. So Allie has a son who surfs. And Allie had said to us that he surfs. So I honestly thought he's a one-off crazy kid. That's just what I thought. I'm like, okay, so she's got a crazy kid who likes to surf in the winter. And she's talking about how, you know, he makes his own surfboards and he's been surfing for years. Well, then as she's taking us around town, she's kind enough to take us to Ocean Drive, which is this beautiful 10-mile drive along the ocean, mansions on one side, the ocean on the other. Sure enough, there are like 25 people in the water surfing. I seriously could not believe it.
Yep.
Then she proceeds to tell me about all the surf shops in the area. Why? Why would you surf in the winter? I don't even understand how this became a thing. I said to her, the water's got to be freezing. Water was 38 degrees, so not quite freezing. But I need to know, what is the temperature? Because everyone has said now, like more than one person, not just Allie, oh, you wear a wetsuit. Okay, I understand the concept of a wetsuit in your toes, and your ears. I understand the concept of a wetsuit.
Yeah.
It gets wet, then your body temperature heats it up, blah, blah, blah. But how much does it really, what is the temperature rise in a wetsuit?
I think your body's fine, but for me, I'd be like, you know how cold my hands get. We talked about this in other episodes where I didn't have gloves. The minute that my hands hit the water, I wouldn't be able to grab the board. It'd be like all arthritic and like, you know, I just have like 2 lobster claws trying to hold onto the board to stand up with my frozen feet. Oh my God.
All I keep thinking about are their ears and their nose.
Yeah.
I think the wetsuits have the hoodie part, some of them, but their nose. Anyway, Allie did say that they put Vaseline on their face, so I think that keeps the heat in. I still don't understand it. Like, who started this? I need to know who started this in the Atlantic. I need to know.
They're serious about it.
It's like surfing in Oregon or surfing in Seattle. Or not Seattle,
In
but
the winter,
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Which I guess I'm sure people do it there too. I mean, you know, if you're hardcore and it's just part of your thing, but I don't know. I couldn't do it. If I put on one of those suits, I would look like the fattest ninja ever. It'd be ridiculous.
And you'd be sliding off the board because you can't grab it with your two lobster claws.
My lobster claws. My feet, I couldn't even feel my feet to stand up on the board. I'd just be like,
Oh my
it'd be
God.
like knee boarding or
Let's
whatever.
do this.
It'd be stupid.
Let's get you out there.
Okay, yeah.
I'll
that'd
get the
be good.
GoPro. This will be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a good social media vignette. It's not happening. Anyway. All right, but speaking of the water, one of the greatest things about being around here is you're surrounded by ships and yachts and marinas, which is huge to me. I didn't get this style of marina when I was a kid. I had, you know, your typical river or lake rat motorboats and stuff. Here, the sailing regattas, the kids who are learning to, like, you know, operate the sails and the masts and everything from the time they're like out of the womb, for crying out loud. Like, there are probably kids that know how to sail here before they know how to ride a bike.
Oh, yeah. So we learned so much. We ended up doing a tour with a woman by the name of Suzanne, who's a local here. And she schooled us very well on the boating lifestyle of young people and how it starts at a very early age and just how everyone kind of does it. It doesn't even matter your income bracket. If you're by the water, you will figure out a way to get lessons and be sailing and out on that boat by the time you're like 5.
Yeah.
It's really quite impressive. And then Suzanne also told us, you know, look, we lived on near the water. I'm not even going to say on the water, but being in Los Angeles, we were very close in proximity to Santa Monica Beach.
Yep.
And to Malibu. So we got, you know, our fair share of water life going there on the weekends. But this is different. That's more of a beach lifestyle, and this is more of a sailing lifestyle. And Suzanne really clued us in on how the America's Cup
Yep.
brought people to Newport, because it was like, I'm going to get the stats wrong, I know, because there was so much she gave us during that tour. But I guess with the America's Cup, you couldn't see the boats from the shore of Newport. But if you got in a boat and you traveled out into the ocean, you could see the race. Yeah. And she said that we were very successful for many, many years. We always won the cup. And then like in 85, we lost.
Yeah.
And then we never got it again.
The Australians took it.
And who else has been in the lead? Have the Australians won it in the last 30 years?
I don't know enough about it to tell you that.
I mean, it's like, but since the 80s, we've never won it. But the race brought so many people to Newport that it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, and there are other races that begin from here. Look, America's Cup is, you know, I think that's the granddaddy of them all.
I mean, there's even an avenue here called America's Cup.
Yeah. But there are plenty of other sort of races that start from here, but that was the big one for the longest time.
And the beauty of that race is where she took us to see it. It is along the 10-mile drive, and people would just park their cars. Or when you go, even though you can't see it, she said, from the shore, it was a thing. Like, people would just gather because they knew the boats were going like out in the ocean, but kind of in front of them, if that makes any sense. Yeah. They just wanted to be in proximity of where the American Cup was passing. But that just brought such a huge crowd that kind of just, it never died down.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sailing museum here. There are all kinds of, like, there are a few schools here where people can go and learn the craftsmanship, the trade of, you know, shipbuilding. And it's, you know, I mean, it's the fiber of the community here for sure. It's inseparable.
When we were with Allie, she talked a lot about shipbuilding. Her son is a shipbuilder. And then come to find out, the building right next to the Gardner House is a they do wood boats there, but it's a ship building, a ship building school. And if you look out the window of the hotel, depending on where your room is located, it's a huge warehouse and has beautiful pane windows. And you could look in there from the hotel and see them building the wood boats. And I said to her one day, because we saw her again, she didn't get enough torture, so she came back for more. And we actually did an Ask a Local with Allie.
We did.
So you're gonna see that on YouTube, and I'm looking forward to putting that out there because it was such a great time spent with her. But anyway, when she came back for more torture, I said to her, am I dreaming? Am I making this up? Am I seeing things? But is the building next to our hotel a wood ship building? And she goes, oh, yeah. She goes, there's a school in there that teaches how to build wood boats. Like, it was, you could peek in and it's beautiful. You see it. I mean, you know, it's not like easy to see. You have to be on the second floor of the hotel. But very cool just to, you know, look. When have I ever stayed at a hotel where they're building ships next to us?
Yeah, we've never had that before.
No.
So that does bring up an interesting point, though, because, you know, when you're driving around the island, obviously you're seeing all the boats. It's an incredible vista, the ocean view. One of the things, though, that we should talk about is what you can see on land, and that is, I don't know, how many miles of mansions did we go past? Is it like 2 miles of mansions or something like that?
It is.
These,
it's 2 miles.
oh my gosh. We saw one of the houses, one of the mansions we saw was the one that was used in the original film, The Great Gatsby. We saw Hammersmith Farms, and that is basically where Jackie Onassis grew up. Mm-hmm. It was her stepfather's property, estate. Mm-hmm. And incidentally, there's a church right up the street where she and JFK were married. I always identified the Kennedys as being from Massachusetts and just never had any inclination whatsoever that Jackie O was actually raised around here. But those mansions, the farms, I mean, they're incredible. You want to talk about what are they, Victorian, Georgian? What's the style? Like they're all Gilded Age.
Yeah. So the style, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the Gilded Age style is. Is that the style, the Gilded Age?
Well, that's what everybody says. Like when you say the Gilded Age,
I wonder if that's a style.
That's the kind of houses that people are thinking about, you know, where the guys still wore like handkerchiefs or whatever in their suits and they wore vests.
It's very Downton Abbey.
Exactly. But I do think the style is more Victorian, if I'm not mistaken. It's just massive. They're so big. It's not like a Victorian house you see in Savannah, which are huge. Those are big enough.
Yeah.
But these mansions are what, like 10,000 square feet or something like that? You went to visit one.
Oh, one was 100,000. 10,000 square feet? 10,000 square feet is their living room. What are you talking about?
I know.
I went to the Breakers, which was owned by one of the Vanderbilts. And it was 100,000 square feet. And if you ever watch the HBO show, The Gilded Age, which unfortunately I haven't seen, although my girlfriend has told me several times to watch it. Now I'm going to, because I've been to the Breakers, and The Gilded Age has been shot at the Breakers. And it's also been shot at another mansion called the Marble House, which was another Vanderbilt home. So I learned a lot.
It's interesting. We spent that time in Asheville at the Vanderbilt estate, and then we came up here, and the Vanderbilts are everywhere.
Oh, they are. You can't escape them.
They're all over this place.
They knew a good thing when they saw it, and they planted their flag, and it was around 100,000 square feet. That flag.
It's wondrous what you could do with a little bit of railroad money.
It is. I learned a lot talking to the Preservation Society that has volunteers at the Breakers, and that is when World War II came. Mm-hmm. They couldn't afford. It was just not that they couldn't afford. It was just not nice to have a house that large still open, having parties when there was a war going on. The depression was, people were just coming out of it leading up to World War II. So they basically closed their doors. They shut down that house for 10 years, had a very, very bare bones staff. There was a staff of 40 people at one time. That house was built in the late 1800s. So they had a good long run up until World War II. And then they opened up their doors in the 60s for tours because they just needed revenue to keep the house going, even though there was Vanderbilt money. It wasn't, I guess, coming in like it did in the heyday. And there were a lot of Vanderbilts at that time. Old man Vanderbilt had 13 kids, and then those kids had kids. So that money's being divided. So I think they opened up their doors in the 60s just for the first floor to do tours to get some money in. Then they ended up selling their house to the Preservation Society. And I don't quite know the date of when they sold the house to the Preservation Society, but the stipulation was they would sell their house to the Preservation Society of Newport as long as they could still have an apartment in the house. The Newport Preservation Society bought the house for $399,000.
That's it?
That is it.
You're kidding.
No.
Wow.
And the Vanderbilts had a little tucked away corner, and I say tucked away, you know, it was probably still 20,000 square feet, in the breakers up until 2017.
Really? That recent?
Yeah. Wow. So locals, because I've, met a lot of locals now, they've all said the same thing, that growing up here, they would drive by and say, I wonder if they're there today. I wonder if they're there today. And I learned a little tidbit of information that I had to share with your cousin. The woman at the breakers who works for the Preservation Society confirmed that the Vanderbilts still have an apartment at the Biltmore in Asheville.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, because when we were there, I asked somebody, because Doreen had said she heard that rumor.
Right.
I asked a worker. The worker's like, I've been here for 17 years. No, I don't know why people keep saying that. And then the girl here said, no, she didn't want to divulge that information. She's like, for whatever reason, I don't know why. She said, I don't know why she didn't tell you. She just felt like she couldn't. She said, no, they still have an apartment and they live at the Biltmore. Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I learned also, which is really interesting, it just goes back to hometown pride and pride of where you live. A lot of mansions started to fall in disrepair because of how expensive it was to keep it up. And a developer came in and purchased one of these mansions that was really just falling down. So he came in, cleared the property, and put up a strip mall. And it was so heartbreaking to the town that the Preservation Society put an end to it, and they started scooping up all the mansions that were in need of,
Long Mansion Row.
Yes. So you can buy a ticket and tour 3 or 4 mansions in a day if you want, or you can get a yearly pass. So the Preservation Society really owns quite a few of the mansions now on Bellevue, which
Otherwise it would all be Pizza Huts.
100%. I mean, he put up a strip mall with a grocery store on Mansion Row.
Okay.
That's horrible.
It kind of, yeah.
It just goes back to like what developers do. They just come in and ruin the landscape.
It's true.
Yeah, but the Preservation Society was like, no, we're not letting you do that, which, man, kudos to them.
Yeah.
Honestly, kudos to them for doing that. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. It does speak to how obvious the old money is around here when you're driving past these houses. I mean, I think it's one of those things. I agree with you that what you said earlier on, where you said, we just always thought it was expensive in Rhode Island and all that. Generationally so. I mean, for 3 generations of Gordons ago, we probably still would have had a hard time, competing with like getting the property we want, at least in Newport or in this area, even across the bridge. I did a quick deep dive into real estate. So far, I found 4 houses that we can afford in the $400,000 to $700,000 range that we want, that we're trying to stick within. But we're not going to get a yard of any sort except across the river, across the bridge. It won't be an acre. It would be half an acre. But if we were to buy, I mean, it would just be like a seaport cottage basically here in Newport itself.
I know.
Now, mind you, all these houses were built, like so many of these houses, like when we went with Suzanne, she took us through old Newport. Those houses have been around since like the 1700s, some in the 1800s, but
Yeah.
a lot of like 1778, 17, I like
300-year-old house is going
Yeah.
for $2 million.
old Quaker houses. Yeah.
$2 million.
I know.
It's insane.
And they look spectacular. Like you're driving through there and it does look like old houses that have sort of been restored. But when you look at the actual signage, the plaques on the houses, you're like, oh my God, this house is
1718. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, this house is almost 300 years old or whatever. So,
And it's only like 1,800 square feet.
oh yeah, of course.
And there's no yard. I mean, if you're going to look at a house in Newport off of Thames or Spring or Bellevue, which are the famous streets where there's a lot of shops and restaurants and old historic buildings, if you're going to move into one of those houses,
Yeah.
just know your front yard are your 3 stairs and your backyard are 3 stairs.
Yep.
And it's going to be $2 million. It'll have a nice plaque on it that says historic site or...
Yeah, you have a little walk-up sidewalk you share with your neighbors whose stairs are like right behind yours.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no privacy, there's no nothing, but I don't think people that buy those houses really care about that. Like, they're buying it for the proximity, and
Yeah.
a lot of them, they're summer houses. They're not even
That's
full-time
probably
residents.
true. Yeah. I think that's probably true.
Well,
for a lot of
Suzanne
houses.
told us it was, and Allie told us it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, the neighborhoods off of like the Thames and Spring and Bellevue, you probably and you definitely have more full-time residents. But then when you hit the Mansion Row, those are all summer homes,
Yeah.
and there's still mansions that are privately held. I mean, we went by Jay Leno's mansion.
We did. That's right. I
Yeah.
forgot about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. It was. It was.
How many
pretty
chimneys?
It was pretty descript, right? He
Oh
had
my
like,
God.
I think somebody said 13 chimneys.
And you can see them because they're like the stacked chimneys. It just looked like a house from England, didn't it?
It
Like
did.
because it
Yeah.
had those high chimneys, like something out of a castle.
Yeah. It was totally Downton Abbey.
It was.
Jay's living the life there.
Yeah, and our tour guide Suzanne told us that on some days that she's done the tour, he's been out walking, like just taking a stroll, and people, obviously he's very recognizable.
He's out there in his bathrobe getting
Yeah.
the newspaper.
No, she said
smoking
he's
a cigar.
walking. No, she said he's taking a walk along the street.
Oh, okay.
That's what she said. You don't remember?
I remember her saying that. I thought she meant in his driveway. I don't remember the
No,
street.
she said when I've done tours, he's been out walking. Yeah.
And I guess everybody knows who it is because there's a big wispy white hair that he has now. Oh my gosh.
And who was the other person that lives on like Mile Miracle? I keep saying Miracle Mile, but it's not. It's like Mile of Millionaires. It's 2 miles. Judge Judy.
Oh, that's right. Everybody has told us. Oh, Judge Judy lives here.
They've said that before Jay Leno.
They did.
Like, they
Yeah,
love Judge Judy here.
They do. They absolutely do.
I believe when we saw Jay Leno's house, he's like right near Hammersmith Farms.
It's not far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, you mentioned Jackie and JFK. If you look in any photos of them in her wedding dress, like with the fence behind her on grass, like the beautiful wedding photos, that's Hammersmith Farm. They had their reception there. So any of the photos you've seen from her wedding, anywhere the black and whites, that is Hammersmith Farms. And it still looks the same. The fence is still there. There's horses grazing. It's beautiful, and it's owned privately now. Somebody owns it, a private person.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into our favorite part of every episode, food.
Oh, that's a tough one.
We had a great food experience.
I
while
say
we're
it's a
here.
tough one because I've been, if you've been listening, I've been struggling, and I hope the nutritionist isn't listening.
You did all right mostly.
It was, you know what? It's all seafood. It's all protein. So I actually did pretty good.
Yeah. I think you ordered well. You ordered relatively healthy.
Oh.
Me, not always. But I guess, I don't know. I've eaten a lot of cod since we've been here. We went to Midtown Oysters.
Okay, so that's what I don't understand. Why is cod the thing? Like, it's the first thing on the menu. I don't get it. Like,
It
is like that of this region?
I definitely think Atlantic cod, is definitely popular here.
You know what else is really popular here, you guys? I had no idea. New York strip steaks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in LA, it's like the last. If you go to a steakhouse, it's not the first.
No, everybody
A
goes
New York
for
strip,
the fillets.
or they have ribeye.
Ribeyes.
Yeah, or the Wagyu or whatever. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. You're saying it roughly.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Wagyu beef.
Okay, so that's really popular in Los Angeles. Here, the first steak is a New York strip.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it was like an inferior cut of meat because I'm from LA and I don't know. I just go with what's on the steak menus when we go there.
But then we went to 22 Bowens the other night, and what happened?
Oh, it was amazing.
You got the New York strip.
But why is it the thing here?
I don't know. I definitely think it's just it does remind me a little bit of growing up in Ohio. Like, it was on every single menu, I guess, when I was a kid, and I've just forgotten about it all these years being away.
Okay.
On the West Coast, you're right. It's not the go-to cut of beef that people choose.
I've ever ordered a New York strip
I don't think you ever have.
adult life.
No.
And then when I go to the grocery store, I don't get it. It's weird. So it's weird only because it's unfamiliar to me.
Yeah, I think on the West Coast, it's like a New York strip will be like, it's kind of like diner food.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because it's usually very tough.
Steak and eggs. It's a steak and eggs.
It's a steak and eggs steak on the West Coast.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
I know.
But here, it's not. It's the first thing on the steak menu.
Yeah. So we had one the other night. It was excellent. We've had tons of fish. Oh, you had a little fish experience. Not a little fish. You had a big fish experience at the moorings the other night.
I did. So I had, I'm going to say it wrong, but Brazzino or Brazzino. It's an Italian, I believe, fish, and it comes whole. And it was so big on the plate that I had to take a picture of it. And I think I put it on my story. I'm going to probably make a post of it. But I took a photo of this fish sitting on my plate, and it just looked like a fish on a plate. Then I had James put his hand next to it. It was like quadruple his hand.
Bigger than your head.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I ate every bite of it. Every
you did.
bit of it.
You gave me 2 tastes.
I literally ate
That was
it.
nice of you.
I did give you 2, and I really didn't even want to give you those.
You've been in a sharing mood lately. Yeah. But it was nice. It was good. It was definitely something I've never seen you order. So that was interesting. And it was obviously you enjoyed it very much. So
well, I did. I mean, I think the waitress had said to us also, I said, so, you know, is the fish really fresh? And she said, because you hear that, you're like, oh, you know, everyone says, oh, the fish here is so fresh. I'm like, okay, like they're still getting it from China. And so she's like, no, the boat comes in and brings the fish daily. And then, you know, truth be told, we did go to a restaurant where the menu was the daily menu of the fish they had. And so it kind of like, you know, it reiterated that, yeah, the fish is fresh. So since we've been here, we've been eating fish every single day. I mean, I had the steak that one day just because I was craving something other than fish.
yeah. And we had stuffed clams. Did you try the stuffed clams? The stuffies.
I did.
At that place Allie took us.
Yes.
What's the name of that place?
I want to say Yellow Brick Pub, but
No. The Yellow Brick Road Pub. No, it was, you're close.
Brick Alley.
Brick Alley Pub.
That was it.
That
Yeah.
was it.
And it's like a staple here.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, they had stuffed clams. It was really good.
It was.
I've never had, look, the first time I ever had clams was here. And then, no, the first time I ever had clams was in Mystic. And then the first time I ever had stuffed clams was here. And it was pretty delicious.
Yeah. The other thing, I guess, that's very important to mention is the Portuguese influence on
my
the
gosh.
food here.
Okay.
Like, sure, if you're a foodie, you probably know there, you know, places outside of Boston or Cape Cod or wherever where there's a certain style of calamari that they serve up with like, they're like red peppers. It's a spicier version of seafood than you normally get at your standard British pubs or whatever, obviously. But the influence here is pretty pervasive. Like they have a museum.
They do.
Or a monument down on Ocean Drive.
Yes.
For the Portuguese influence here on just the sailing and the food and the cuisine and, you know, the culture.
You said museum, but I think you're right. It's just a monument.
It's a monument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Allie's Portuguese.
That's
and
right.
she's the one who actually clued us in that there's a huge Portuguese influence here.
Yeah. I like it. It's like seafood with a bit of zing to it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's the food here has been incredible. Every single restaurant. And that's like pretty hard to find. I mean, you get that in big cities, but I don't know. I didn't expect it. How about that? I didn't expect it. I expected like a couple good seafood restaurants. We've scored on every single place we've gone to. Even off the beaten path ones, we've scored.
Yeah, we haven't missed at all. And the Nitro Bar up the street has been my daily morning haunt. Great coffee there. There are other places. I think there's an Empire Coffee
Oh,
place
that's
up
all
the
around.
street.
I've seen a
Yeah.
couple of those.
That one's pretty good, I must say. If you're a vegan, they have like these little power protein vegan biscuits that you can get in the morning or whatever. If you're a carnivore like me, I liked it because the coffee was good, and they actually have like a warmer rack of grab and goes that you can just grab on your way to the cash register. It's pretty good. So anyway, back to your point, we have not missed in the food department since we've been here.
I would say the prices are very reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not your high prices like a New York or a Los Angeles. Obviously, it's not as cheap as like some other areas, but I would say it's like right in the middle.
Seafood's always pricey, but it's pretty fair price here.
Agreed.
All right, so let's just get to it. Can you live here? Could you live here?
I thought I could the first 3 days. Now I'm questioning a little bit just because I don't know where I would live. We certainly can't afford to live over here on Thames or near Spring or any of that. And the beauty of Newport is Newport, the water. So where would we live? I'm 50-50. I really am. If I could find a place that's not too far,
Yeah.
that would allow me the convenience of driving in Newport, then I would be open to it. Living near Newport means it's like Savannah. You actually don't need a car. You can walk everywhere. I mean, you know, they don't have obviously a subway or a train transportation system here for their residents, but there are buses. People do have cars, but a lot of people just walk if they live in an area that is walkable. I'd like to do that, but I don't think we could afford it. So I'm like up in the air about it. It's beautiful. If we had $2 million, I would say, yes, I want to live here.
Right.
But to move away from all of this, I feel like, okay, now I'm in a suburb again. And if I'm in a suburb, I'll just move to a suburb of Idaho. I'll move to a suburb of any place. Like, why live in a city that has all this to offer, but I can't access it because I'm like 40 minutes away or 30 minutes away? I'm torn. So my answer is, I don't know. The airport's really close. If you live in Newport, it's only 33 minutes, 35 minutes because it's in Providence, and Providence isn't far. You have to take a bridge to get to Providence because, you know, we're on an island. But I have to think about it.
Okay.
What about you?
I definitely think I could live in Rhode Island, but for the reasons you mentioned, it would be difficult. Like, we could afford a little cottage here in Newport, but we'd be giving up so much of what we wanted.
Where's there a cottage that's $500,000? Tell me.
There's not. It'd be $750, and it would be about 1,500 square feet.
Where?
No yard.
Is this around here?
Yeah, around here. Not directly around here, but yeah, on the island.
Walking distance?
I mean, everything's kind of walking distance.
Was
here.
it walking distance?
I believe so. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, looking at the map,
Wow.
it seemed that way.
Okay, I just haven't seen that. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
that exists.
I mean,
Okay.
it's tucked in. It's like you're definitely like house. So
I know.
you'd be on top of your neighbors. We would definitely be giving up the privacy that we've been seeking.
Yeah.
I do think there are other areas. We haven't even touched on Providence. We dipped into Providence once or twice since we were here, but that's going to be a future episode because that city deserves its own episode. We only scratched the surface briefly for a couple of, quick jaunts up there. I know there are probably great places outside of there where you could have access within a half an hour each direction to Newport if you wanted to come and hang for the day, or Providence where, you get a little more of your city. And then, like you said, there would be a little more suburb. It just depends on, we didn't spend a ton of time in the suburbs. So I guess I'm with you. I don't know enough about the suburbs here to say, oh yes, I could figure, I love the fact that there's history everywhere, specifically here in Newport. There's a baseball field where the minor league team plays right down the street, where Babe Ruth played. And you and I went to the Tennis Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh, how did I even forget that? Yeah, the Tennis Hall of Fame is here. The Tennis Hall of Fame has 3 courts that are grass. Do you remember how magnificent it is when you walk through the arches of the opening? Because it's outdoor. Well, they have obviously an indoor part of it as well, but it's it was built in like the 1800s or early 1900s. I'm going to get the date wrong on that because so many dates have been thrown around. When you come to a city with this much history, it is hard to keep them all straight. But it used to be the place where the wealthy would go to play tennis or to play, what's the thing that like, croquet. They would play croquet there. And so, is it croquet or croquette?
Croquet, I believe.
Is croquette a food?
I think a croquette is a little, with like stuff with lobster or cheese or something. It's like a little pastry, right?
They might have had croquettes while they were playing croquet.
I'm sure they did.
But so the building is original, and you see the grass tennis courts. Yeah. In your head when you walk in, because again, it's these double beautiful doors that open up from the outside street, and you just walk right in. It's all outdoors. Just conjures like that era of like the long dresses while they're playing croquet.
While eating croquettes.
I forgot about the Tennis Hall of Fame. Oh my gosh.
I really don't think the women were allowed to play croquet. So
they were. I saw it in pictures.
You did?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
How progressive.
Those
were. Yankees. They know how to do it.
They really do.
They know how to treat their ladies.
But yeah, so you're right. They have the minor league baseball team here. They have, and by the way, at the Tennis Hall of Fame, they still play games. Like Serena Williams was here. Like, they still have tournaments here. Yes, and it's pretty incredible to see them play on grass.
Yeah. Well, not that we would know because it's winter right now, but
that is true. It's got to be incredible for them to see them play on grass. Not incredible for us.
It's definitely a locale. We definitely want to come back to this town in the summer and check out things like that, and obviously see just how lively the streets are. I mean, everybody says the population kind of triples in the summer here. So yeah,
and the sailboats have their what do you call it on the
regattas?
No, the sailboat that has the masts, like all the, like you see the, like, what is it? The sails, like they have their sails up during the summer where they don't have it now in the winter. What's that called?
I don't know the nautical term for it.
Isn't it the mast? Is that it?
Yeah, the mast is the tall thing, and then the sails are...
What's the sails called?
Sails?
I think there's something more. I think it's a fancier word.
I don't know. You're asking the wrong kid.
They have their sails up.
I grew up on a lake in Ohio. Like, we did not have this stuff.
Okay.
We didn't have tennis. We didn't have sailing.
You didn't have the Kennedys?
We barely had golf. We had 0 Kennedys where I grew up.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you.
I know. Poor kid. All I can see is
you had a pontoon boat.
Yeah. All I can see is like as we're passing some of these mansions around town, all I could think to myself is, oh my gosh, if I were here 60 years ago with my family, I'd be living in one of the staff quarters or something like that. I'd be a porter. Or I'd be, you know what I mean?
60 years ago? No, it'd be more like 60 years ago? No, you'd be like, you're more like 100 years ago. Yeah.
All right.
You're almost 60.
You're almost 60. My family was still in Scotland then, so it was never in the cards for me. So 100 years ago, we were not even in the United States yet. So anyway, despite the weather and some really, really cold days while we were here, we still had a fantastic time.
Yeah, it was pretty chilly. I mean, one day it got down to like 28 degrees. You know what? I don't want to hear any moaning. Okay? No hate comments. Every time we post a video about us being cold or I do a short, winter. People always have something to say.
It's a mild winter.
Yeah. You know what? It was cold.
It was. There was one night I walked out and walked back in and changed jackets. Oh my God.
And then you know what we learned? Because it is off season, we've said that so many times. I take a shot for every time we say off season. But it's a big deal here because, okay, first of all, the shops are closed. So Suzanne, our tour guide, saw a live I did. So if you go to our Instagram, Skiptown All Stars Travel Podcast, you'll see a live I did about 5 days ago where I was walking down the famous Thames. I went to St. Mary's Church where the Kennedys got married. I just wanted to show it. And I had my phone, so what the heck. I was talking about how a lot of stores are closed during this time. Mm-hmm. And so it's really fascinating for me to see how people run a business where they have no revenue for 4 months. I don't know how they do it. I've talked to James about it. Like, they really must just save their money and, figure it out, because so many shops are closed January to March or January to April, January to May. So Suzanne, when we started our tour, saw my live, and she said, it's really... I don't believe that all out of the stores are closed. So I thought, did I get it wrong? okay, maybe it's just on Thames that some of the stores were closed. So, okay, I'm going to, I'm going to give it another shot. I'm going to go down Spring. I'm going to go down Bellevue. They're really, really popular. Everything was closed. And I'm not lying.
Not just the ice cream stores.
Everything was closed. I even took picture upon picture where it said, see you in the spring.
Yeah.
We open up in April. Or here's a better one, because this one is so upsetting. Closed Monday through Thursday. And I'm there on a Thursday.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, I'm one day short. So they're only open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like to see that, that's worse than saying see you in April. Because in April, I've got no shot because I'm leaving, in 2 days.
Yeah.
But to know that I was just one day away from like walking into the store is really infuriating. So all that to say, I did try it again and I struck out. I probably went to 10, 12 stores, everything from housewares to clothing to, forget the ice cream, I just walked right by those, but to coffee shops, which were more like diners, breakfast, lunch.
Yeah.
Lots of see you in the spring, which I'm like, aren't we in the spring? No.
No, we are not technically in the spring, I don't
Guess
think.
not.
Yeah.
So, and then
I was going to say there's one other phenomenon that we have never experienced before, but it's kind of normal around here.
do you want to say what it is?
I want you to say what it is. I want to hear it in your voice because when you told me the other day, your eyes were as big as saucers.
Okay, so what I found out is that during this time of the year, when everything is so quiet, if you are staying in a hotel and you are the only guest, it is not uncommon for the staff to lock the hotel up and leave.
Yeah. If you are the only room on property, a lot of the little inns do it where they don't have a night desk attendant for just two people who are sleeping in their room. So it's cool in a way. They tell you they're leaving at least, and you know you're there by yourself, and you know, like you have a key to the door, the front door, you have a key to your room. So it works out that way. But yeah, that was not anything we've ever experienced before.
No. And it happens, like you said, quite often in different places. So when they say we're locking up for the night, what they really mean is we're locking you up for the night.
Yeah, you're on your own. And
it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so insane. I'm like, wow, okay. And look, it
you're
makes
like,
sense.
we're going to be here all by ourselves, which, kind of sounds like an episode of Home Alone or something like that.
Oh, I'm
where you're
thinking The
gonna run
Shining.
around.
No, I'm
I
not
know.
thinking Home Alone. I'm thinking The Shining.
Well, that was a joke I made. I said, oh, great. It's going to be like The Shining, except Denise is going to be the one carrying the hatchet.
Yep. So, so that was a little interesting fact, tidbit, what do you want to call experience?
Yeah.
That was an interesting experience. And we were not alone. It has happened to other people.
That's right.
So if you want to have a whole hotel to yourself.
Come to Newport in the off season.
Yep.
So anyway, all right. Well, I think we better wrap this up. We cannot thank Allie enough for all of her support over the last couple of years, and specifically for being one of our 2 tour guides while we were here in Newport. Another shout out to Suzanne, our other tour guide, and the biggest shout out of all to Yulia.
Oh, she's amazing.
And she was.
Yeah.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
Present tense.
Yes, she is. She's assistant GM, and
Yep.
then Lou, who's the GM. They are a great
Yes.
team.
Their entire staff have taken such good care of us. The housekeeping has been incredible. Everything.
Yeah, they're banging on the door right now.
They're banging on the
Literally.
door right
Yeah.
now. So we got to wrap this up. Take them out.
Empty nest, full tank.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.